I saw him across the coffee shop on a random Tuesday in October, and my entire world tilted on its axis. 7 years. It had been 7 years since I'd last seen Evan Torres, and yet I recognized him instantly the way he pushed his dark hair back from his forehead. The slight furrow between his eyebrows as he concentrated on his phone. The particular way he stood with his weight shifted to one side. My first instinct was to leave. To grab my coffee and walk out before he noticed me, to avoid the complicated tangle of emotions that seeing him stirred up. But I was frozen in place, unable to move, unable to look away. Evan had been my first real love, my college boyfriend, the person I thought I'd spend forever with, until life got in the way, and forever turned into goodbye. We'd broken up the summer after graduation. I'd gotten accepted into a graduate program in New York, and he'd landed his dream job in San Francisco. We'd tried long distance for 3 months before admitting it wasn't working. The breakup had been mutual, mature, and absolutely devastating. I hadn't seen him since the day he helped me pack my car for the move to New York. Both of us crying and promising to stay in touch, a promise we'd kept for maybe 6 months, before our messages grew sporadic and eventually stopped altogether. And now here he was, standing in line at a coffee shop in Seattle, a city neither of us had lived in when we were together. My name is Adrian Chen. I'm 30 years old. A software engineer, and I moved to Seattle 2 years ago for work. I'd dated other people since Evan, some relationships lasting months, one lasting almost a year, but none of them had ever felt quite right. There was always something missing. Some spark that I couldn't find again. I'd convinced myself that first loves always feel more intense because everything is new. That the memory of Evan had taken on a golden glow that real life could never match. That I needed to stop comparing everyone to someone I'd dated in my early 20s. But seeing him now, feeling my heart race and my hands shake, and that familiar warmth spread through my chest, I realized I'd been lying to myself. It wasn't that first love felt more intense. It was that Evan specifically had been different. He looked up from his phone, scanning the coffee shop, and our eyes met. I watched recognition dawn on his face, surprise. Then something that might have been joy, then uncertainty. He said something to the person he was with, a woman, professional looking, probably a colleague, and started walking toward me. This was happening. After 7 years of silence, Evan Torres was walking toward me in a Seattle coffee shop, and I had about 15 seconds to figure out what to say, Adrian. His voice was the same, warm and slightly raspy, with that hint of his Texas accent that he'd never quite lost. Is that really you? Hey, Evan. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Yeah, it's me. I can't believe, what are you doing in Seattle? I live here now. Moved here 2 years ago for work. What about you? Same, well, a year ago. I'm working at a tech startup downtown. He was smiling now. That genuine Evan smile that had always lit up his whole face. This is crazy. Of all the coffee shops in all the cities, ... right. I managed to laugh. What are the odds? We stood there for a moment, just looking at each other, and I could feel the years falling away. He looked good older, more filled out, with a few lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. But fundamentally, he was still Evan. Still the person who had known me better than anyone. Who had made me laugh until I cried. Who had been my favorite person for 3 years. I should probably... He glanced back at his colleague, who was watching with polite curiosity. I'm actually here for a work meeting. But Adrian, can we get coffee sometime? Actually catch up. I'd like that. Yeah. He pulled out his phone. What's your number? I'll text you. I gave him my number. He sent me a quick text so I'd have his. And then he was being called back to his table by his colleague. It's really good to see you, he said. And the way he looked at me made my chest tight. You too. I left the coffee shop in a daze, my own coffee forgotten. Evan was in Seattle. Evan had asked for my number. Evan wanted to get coffee and catch up. I had no idea what any of it meant. But I knew one thing for certain. My carefully constructed life. It's about to get very complicated. Evan texted me that evening. Evan, hey. It's Evan. Still can't believe we ran into each other. Are you free Saturday afternoon? There's a place in Capitol Hill I've been wanting to try. I stared at the message for probably too long before responding. Me, Saturday works. RPM Evan. Perfect. I'll send you the address. Evan. Really looking forward to this. I showed the messages to my roommate and best friend, Maya, who immediately poured us both wine and demanded the full story. 8. The Evan, she said when I finished explaining. Your college boyfriend? The one you still compare everyone to, even though you claim you don't? I don't compare everyone to him. You literally told me last month that the guy you went on 3 dates with was nice, but not Evan-level funny. Those were your exact words, okay? Maybe I occasionally reference him as a point of comparison, but that doesn't mean anything. It means everything. You never got over him, thus no tie was over him. I dated other people. I moved on. Physically moved on, sure. Emotionally? I don't think you ever really let him go. She took a sip of wine. So what are you going to do? Get coffee. Catch up. See what happens? And if the chemistry is still there, then, I don't know. We broke up for good reasons. Those reasons probably haven't changed. Maybe they have. You're both in Seattle now? Maybe the universe is giving you a second chance. I wanted to believe that. But I'd learned the hard way that wanting something doesn't make it possible. Saturday arrived too quickly. I changed outfits 3 times before settling on jeans and a casual button-down nice enough to show I'd made an effort. Casual enough to suggest this wasn't a big deal, even though it absolutely was. The coffee shop Evan had chosen was cozy and artsy. With local art on the walls and mismatched furniture, I arrived exactly on time to find Evan already there, sitting at a corner table with 2 coffees in front of him. I remembered your order, he said as I sat down. Latte, with oat milk, 1 sugar. Unless that's changed? No, that's still right. Was touched he'd remembered. Thank you. I figured if I got it wrong, you could just order something else. But I was hoping your coffee preferences were one of the constants. We started with Safe Topics Jobs Seattle, the neighborhoods we lived in. Evan was working as a product manager at a Series B startup that was doing something with AI. And healthcare that sounded impressive even though I only understood half of it. I told him about my work at a larger tech company, the projects I was leading, the team I'd built. You always said you wanted to lead a team, Evan said. I'm glad you're doing that. You always said you wanted to be in product. Looks like we both ended up where we planned. Career-wise, yeah. Other aspects of life, less according to plan. There was something in his tone that made me look up. What do you mean? He hesitated, then seemed to decide to be honest. I was engaged. Last year, it didn't work out. My stomach dropped. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't be. It was the right call. Michael was a great guy, but we wanted different things. He wanted to settle down, buy a house in the suburbs, start thinking about kids, and I realized I wasn't ready for any of that. Maybe because... He trailed off, then shook his head. Anyway, we broke up 6 months ago. It was amicable. Still must have been hard. But you know what was harder? The whole time I was with him, I kept thinking about he stopped himself. Never mind. That's probably too much honesty for a first catch-up coffee. Thinking about what? He looked at me directly, and there was something vulnerable in his expression. I kept thinking about you. Wondering if I'd made a mistake letting you go? If I should have tried harder to make the long distance work. My heart was pounding. Evan, ... I know that's a lot. And I'm not saying it to make things weird. But we're adults now, and I figure we can be honest with each other. The truth is, I never really got over you. I tried. I dated other people. I got engaged. I built a whole life. But you were always there, in the back of my mind, the person I measured everyone else against. I couldn't breathe. I did the same thing. Measured everyone against you. Yeah. My roommate calls you the gold standard because apparently I mention you more than I realize. He laughed and some of the tension broke. So we're both disasters who spent 7 years pining after each other? Apparently, well, at least we're consistent. We talked for 3 hours, the conversation flowing as easily as it always had. He told me about San Francisco, about the startup he'd worked at there before moving to Seattle. I told him about New York. It's about graduate school and my first job and the friends I'd made. We talked about our breakup too. Finally addressing the elephant in the room. I think we were too young, Evan said. 22 and convinced we had to have everything figured out immediately. If we'd met just a few years later, maybe we could have navigated the distance better. Or maybe we needed that time apart to grow up, to figure out who we were individually. Maybe I just wish I hadn't lost you entirely in the process. I missed you, Adrian. Not just as a boyfriend, but as a person. You were my best friend. You were mine too. When we finally left the coffee shop, the sun was setting, and I didn't want the day. When we finally left the coffee shop, the sun was setting, and I didn't want the day to end. Can I walk you home? Evan asked. Or at least part of the way. I'd like that. We walked through Capitol Hill as twilight fell, talking and laughing and occasionally falling into comfortable silences. When we reached my block, we stopped. I had a really good time today, Evan said. Me too. Can we do this again? Soon? Yes. Definitely yes. He smiled, and for a moment I thought he might kiss me. But instead, he pulled me into a hug. Warm and familiar and absolutely perfect. I'm really glad you walked into that coffee shop on Tuesday, he murmured against my hair. Me too, we said goodnight. And I watched him walk away before heading into my building. Maya was waiting in our living room, clearly having been watching for me. So, she demanded, I think I'm in trouble. Good trouble or bad trouble? Both. Definitely both. Over the next few weeks, Evan and I fell into a pattern of seeing each other regularly. Coffee dates became dinner dates. Dinner dates became weekend hikes and trips to museums and cooking together at his apartment. We were rebuilding our friendship, relearning each other, discovering who we'd become in the 7 years apart. There were differences. Evan was more confident now, more sure of himself professionally. He'd grown into his features, filled out in his shoulders, developed this way of commanding a room that was new. But fundamentally, he was still Evan, still thoughtful and funny and earnest in a way that made my heart ache. I'd changed too. I was less anxious than I'd been in college, more comfortable in my own skin. I'd learned what I wanted from life, from relationships. I'd developed interests and friendships that were entirely my own. But the chemistry between us? That hadn't changed at all. Every time he laughed at something I said, every time our hands brushed accidentally, every time he looked at me with that particular expression like I was the most interesting person in the world, I felt it. That electric pull, that sense of rightness, that feeling of coming home. The question was, what were we going to do about it? We'd been seeing each other for about 6 weeks when Evan brought it up directly. We were at his apartment, cooking dinner together, a vegetable curry that was slightly too spicy, but we were both too stubborn to admit it. Can I ask you something? Evan said as he stirred the pot. Always. What are we doing here? I looked up from chopping cilantro. Making dinner? Adrian? You know what I mean? I did know what he meant. We'd been dancing around it for weeks, the obvious question of whether we were just friends catching up or something more. I don't know, I admitted. What do you think we're doing? He set down the spoon and turned to face me fully. I think I'm falling for you again. Or maybe I never stopped falling and now I just have permission to acknowledge it. My heart was racing. Evan, I know we broke up for reasons. I know long distance didn't work last time. But Adrian, we're both in Seattle now. We're both adults with established careers and clear priorities. We're not the same people we were at 22. No, we're not. So maybe we could try again. Properly this time? I wanted to say yes immediately. But I also remembered the pain of our breakup, the months of trying to get over him, the fear of opening myself up to that kind of hurt again. I'm scared, I said honestly. I'm scared of screwing this up again, of losing you again. I'm scared too. But I'm more scared of wondering what if for the rest of my life. We have a second chance here, Adrian. How many people get that? He had a point. Can we take it slow? I asked, not rush into anything. Make sure we're doing this for the right reasons. We can take it as slow as you need. Okay, I took a breath. Then yes. Let's try this again. His smile was brilliant. Really? Really? Crossed the kitchen and pulled me into a kiss that was 7 years overdue. It was familiar and new all at once. I remembered the taste of him, the way he cupped my face, the slight stubble that scratched against my chin. But there was something different too, something more mature and intentional about the way we fit together now. When we broke apart, we were both grinning. So we're doing this? Evan said. We're doing this. God, I've wanted to kiss you since that first day in the coffee shop. Why didn't you? Because you looked like you were about to bolt, and I couldn't risk scaring you away. I needed you to want this too. I did want it. I was just afraid to admit it. We finished cooking dinner between kisses, burned the rice, because we got distracted, and ended up ordering pizza instead, while laughing about our complete inability to focus on cooking. Some things never change, Evan said, referencing the many meals we'd burned in college due to getting distracted by each other. Some things never change, I agreed, and kissed him again. Dating Evan. The second time around was both familiar and completely new. We knew each other in fundamental ways. I knew he got quiet when he was stressed, that he loved terrible reality TV shows he claimed to watch ironically, that he needed exactly 2 cups of coffee before he was fully functional in the morning. He knew I reorganized my bookshelf when I was anxious, that I had strong opinions about proper pizza toppings, that I needed time alone to recharge after social events. But we also had to learn new things. 7 years apart had changed us in ways both obvious and subtle. I discovered that Evan had become an excellent cook, unlike his college self, who had subsisted primarily on ramen and cereal. He'd taken cooking classes during his time in San Francisco and now made elaborate meals on weekends. Treating the kitchen like a creative laboratory, he discovered that I'd become obsessed with hiking. Spending most weekends exploring trails around Seattle, I'd barely enjoyed outdoor activities in college. But now I found peace in the mountains. We introduced each other to our friends. Maya loved Evan immediately, cornering me at a party to whisper, "If you screw this up, I will personally kill you." Evan's friend group, a mix of people from work and his GM, welcomed me warmly, though I caught his best friend James giving me an appraising look that suggested Evan had talked about me extensively. "He's been talking about you for years," James confirmed, when we had a moment alone. "Even when he was with Michael, he'd bring you up. I think Michael always knew he was competing with a memory. That made me feel guilty. I never meant to. Don't. Michael's a good guy, but he and Evan weren't right for each other. You too, though? I can see it. The way he looks at youth, it's real. We spent Thanksgiving together, just the two of us, cooking an elaborate meal in Evan's apartment and video calling our respective families. My parents were thrilled to hear I was back together with Evan. We always liked him," my mom said pointedly, as if I'd personally wronged her by breaking up with him 7 years ago. His mom cried happy tears and made me promise to visit them in Texas. In December, we took a weekend trip to the Oregon coast. Staying in a tiny cabin near Cannon Beach, we hiked along the shore, watched the sunset from Haystack Rock, spent evenings curled up by the fire, talking and kissing and just being together. "I miss this," Evan said one night, as we lay tangled together on the cabin's couch. "Not just being with someone, but being with you specifically. The way we fit together." "It's scary how easy this is," I admitted. Like no time passed at all. But time did pass. We're both better for it. He ran his fingers through my hair. "I don't think we could have made this work 7 years ago. We were too young, too focused on our individual paths. But now we have enough space to build something together." Exactly. On Christmas Eve, Evan gave me a gift that made me tear up, a framed photograph from our college days, one I'd never seen before. We were at someone's birthday party, sitting on a couch, my head on his shoulder, both of us laughing at something off camera. We looked so young, so happy, so completely in love. "Where did you get this?" I asked, voice thick with emotion. "I've had it for years. Kept it through every move, every relationship. I couldn't let go of us even when I tried." He took my hand. "I love you, Adrian. I never stopped loving you. Love you too. Always have." We spent Christmas morning together, exchanging gifts and drinking too much coffee and calling it a perfect day. In the afternoon, we video called both our families, making promises to visit soon. He seems happy, my sister told me privately during our call. Happier than I've seen you in years. Don't screw this up. Everyone apparently was invested in our relationship success. In February, about 4 months into our second attempt at a relationship, we hit our first real obstacle. Evan got a job offer from a company in Austin. It was an incredible opportunity, VP of product at a well-funded startup, significant equity, the kind of role that could define his career. He'd applied for it months ago, before we'd reconnected, never expecting to actually get it. I haven't said yes, he told me over dinner at his place, looking anxious. I wanted to talk to you first. My stomach was in knots. It sounds like an amazing opportunity. It is. But Adrian, I'm not making the same mistake twice. I'm not choosing my career over us without us actually discussing what that means. You should take it. The words hurt to say, but they were true. This is your dream role. Maybe, but you're not just a dream role. You're the person I want to build a life with. I'm not losing you again because of geography, so what are you proposing? He took a breath. I think I should turn it down. Evan, no. You can't let me finish. I think I should turn it down because I don't want to leave Seattle. But more importantly, I don't want to leave you. And before you say anything about me sacrificing my career, hear me out. This isn't the only opportunity out there. I'm good at what I do. Other roles will come up, but you. There's only one you. I didn't know what to say. 7 years ago, we'd both chosen our careers over our relationship, and it had ended in heartbreak. Now Evan was saying he'd choose differently. I can't let you turn down a VP role for me, I said finally. But you're not letting me do anything. I'm making a choice. And my choice is you, is us, is building a life here in Seattle together. But what if you resent me later? What if you always wonder what could have been? I won't. Because I already know what could have been feels like. It's the 7 years I spent without you. Wondering if I'd made the right choice, prioritizing my career. I don't want to wonder anymore. I want to be with you. I felt tears threatening. This is different from last time. Very different. We were kids then. We thought we had to have everything figured out, that there was only one path forward. But now I know better. Now I know that careers are important, but they're not everything. Love matters. You matter. I love you so much it scares me sometimes. I know the feeling. He reached across the table and took my hand. So I'm going to call them tomorrow and decline? And then we're going to keep building our life here. What if I hesitated? What if I moved to Austin with you? He stared at me. I can work remotely. We're at our redouble, where I do arrive the number I could transfer. I know it's a big step, but Evan, I don't want to be the reason you give up your dream job. And maybe it could be an adventure for us. You would do that? 7 years ago, we both chose our careers and lost each other. Maybe this time, we choose each other and figure out the careers together. Adrian, are you sure? That's a huge ask, I'm sure. Besides, I've been thinking about leaving Seattle anyway. The cost of living is ridiculous, and I'm tired of the rain. Austin could be good for us. We talked about it for hours, mapping out logistics and timelines. It was terrifying and exciting in equal measure. But it also felt right in a way that our breakup 7 years ago never had. This time, we were making the choice together. The move to Austin happened in April. 3 months after Evan accepted the job offer, my company approved my transfer. And I negotiated a remote-first role that gave me flexibility. Maya was devastated to lose a roommate, but thrilled about the relationship development finally. You two are being adults about this. Double quotes, closing parenthesis. Evan and I found an apartment together in East Austin, a 2-bedroom, so we'd each have office space, the small patio, and enough room for both our stuff. Moving in together felt simultaneously huge and completely natural. Last time we lived together, We were in a tiny college apartment with furniture we'd found on the street. Evan said as we unpacked boxes, and we had exactly one pan that we used for everything. My God. Remember the time we tried to cook pasta in a frying pan because our pot was dirty? It actually worked, though. It absolutely did not work. We ate cereal that night. Spent the first few weeks exploring Austin, finding our favorite coffee shops and restaurants. It's mapping out running and biking routes, getting to know our neighborhood. It was a fresh start for both of us, a city neither of us had history in. Evan thrived in his new role. He came home energized and excited, telling me about products he was developing and problems he was solving. Watching him in his element, passionate about his work, made me fall even more in love with him. My own work was going well too. The remote arrangement gave me flexibility, and I found I actually preferred it to office life. I had time to hike during the day, to cook elaborate meals, to pick Evan up from work sometimes and surprise him with his favorite coffee. We made friends, other couples, mostly people who welcomed us into their established groups and introduced us to the Austin social scene. We went to concerts and food festivals, explored swimming holes outside the city, hosted dinner parties in our small apartment. This is nice. I told Evan one Saturday morning as we sat on our patio drinking coffee. This life we're building. It really is. He reached for my hand. I'm glad we took the risk. In June, we flew back to Seattle for Maya's wedding. It was strange being back in the city that had been home for 2 years. Stranger still to be there with Evan by my side. Do you miss it? He asked as we walked through Capitol Hill after the wedding reception. Sometimes. But I don't regret leaving, not even a little. Not even a little. Because I chose you, and that was the right choice. He kissed me right there on the street. And I thought about how far we'd come from college sweethearts to 7 years apart to this. This life we were building together in a new city. In July, we flew to Texas to visit Evan's family. I'd met them before. Obviously, we'd dated for 3 years in college. But this felt different. We were adults now, serious about each other, building a life together. The stakes felt higher. Evan's mom cried when she saw us together, pulling me into a tight hug. I'm so glad you two found your way back to each other, she said. We always thought you were perfect together. His dad was more reserved but warm, asking about my work and our life in Austin. His sister, Maria, cornered me in the kitchen later. Don't break his heart again, she said bluntly. I won't. He was a mess after you two broke up. Pretended he was fine, but I could tell. And even when he was with Michael, he wasn't happy. Not really, but now. She glanced toward the living room where Evan was laughing at something his dad had said. Now, he's genuinely happy. So don't screw this up. I'm not planning to. Good, because you two are meant to be together. Anyone can see it. In August, we flew to California to visit my family. My parents had divorced during my time in New York. So we had 2 separate visits: dinner with my mom and my sister on Friday, lunch with my dad and his girlfriend on Saturday. My mom was thrilled to see us together again. I knew you'd find your way back to each other, she said confidently, as if she'd orchestrated the whole thing. True love always finds a way. My sister was more pragmatic. You two are good together. But you were good together in college too, and it didn't work out? What's different now? We are, I said simply. We grew up. We figured out what matters. My dad's approval was harder one. He'd always been protective, worried about me getting hurt. But watching Evan interact with his girlfriend, polite and engaged and genuinely interested in her, work as a high school teacher seemed to win him over. He's good for you, my dad said privately as we were leaving. Better than I remembered. More mature, we both are. I can see that. I'm happy for you, Adrian. You deserve this. In October, exactly 1 year after we'd run into each other at that Seattle coffee shop, Evan planned a weekend trip to Big Bend National Park. We hiked into the Chizos Mountains, camping overnight at a backcountry site with stunning views of the desert landscape. It was challenging terrain, but the payoff, watching the sun set over the mountains, then gazing up at more stars than I'd ever seen, was absolutely worth it. I have something I want to ask you. Evan said as we sat outside our tent, wrapped in sleeping bags against the cool desert night. Okay, I said, heart starting to race. He pulled out a small box, and I stopped breathing entirely. Adrian Chen. 7 years ago, I let you go because I thought pursuing my dreams meant choosing between my career and my relationship. I was wrong. These past 12 months have taught me that the best life is the one where I don't have to choose, where I can have a career I love and the person I love, where we support each other's dreams instead of seeing them as competing priorities. Evan, ... I was already crying. You're my best friend. My partner. The person I want to come home to every day and build a future with. And I know we've already done this once before and it didn't work out, but I genuinely believe we're different people now. Better people. People who are ready for this. He opened the box to reveal a simple silver band with a small stone. Will you marry me? Yes, I said through tears. Yes. Absolutely yes. He slipped the ring on my finger, and we kissed under more stars than I could count in the middle of the desert. At the beginning of our forever, I can't believe we get to do this, I said when we finally broke apart. After everything, we actually get our happy ending. This isn't the ending, Evan said. This is just the beginning. Wedding planning, it turned out, was simultaneously fun and stressful. We wanted something small and intimate, but our families had opinions. My mom wanted a traditional ceremony. Evan's mom wanted it in Texas. My sister thought we should do something in California. Everyone had suggestions about venues and guest lists, and whether we needed a DJ or a band, could just elope. Evan suggested one night after a particularly exhausting conversation with my mom about seating arrangements. Tempting. But I actually want our people there. I just wish planning a wedding wasn't so complicated. We eventually settled on a compromise. A small ceremony in Austin City, where we'd built our life together, followed by casual receptions in both Texas and California for extended family and friends who couldn't travel. Maya agreed to officiate. Getting ordained online specifically for the occasion, Evan's sister agreed to handle logistics in Texas. My sister volunteered to manage the California event. With their help, the planning became manageable. We picked a date in May, about 7 months after the proposal. Evan wanted a spring wedding with wildflowers. I wanted something outdoors. We found a venue outside Austin with hill country views and fields of bluebonnets. This is perfect, I said when we visited the site. This is exactly right. In the months leading up to the wedding, we also bought a small bungalow in South Austin with a yard for the dog we'd been talking about adopting. Moving from our apartment to an actual house felt like another milestone. Another step toward the life we were building. Remember when we had that terrible apartment in college with the shower that only did scalding hot or freezing cold? Evan said as we toured our house with our realtor.
Ow.
And the neighbors who had loud arguments at 3 a.m. And the landlord who refused to fix anything? We've come a long way. We really have. The wedding day arrived warm and perfect, the sky impossibly blue. Bluebonnets blooming across the property. We decided to get ready separately, more traditional. But we both liked the idea of that moment of seeing each other for the first time when we were both in our suits. Officially committing to forever, Maya helped me with my tie, making sure everything was perfect. You nervous? She asked. It's not even a little. This is the most certain I've ever been about anything. Good. Because you two are disgustingly perfect for each other. And if anyone objected during the ceremony, I would personally fight them. I don't think that will be necessary. Just saying. I'm prepared. The ceremony was small, about 40 people, just close friends and immediate family. We'd written our own vows, and when it was time to exchange them, I meant every word. Evan, 7 years ago, I thought I'd lost you forever. I thought we'd had our chance, and it was over. But life gave us something incredibly rare, second opportunity at forever. This time, I'm not letting go. This time, I choose us, not just today, but every day. I promise to support your dreams, to be your partner in every adventure, to love you not just in the easy moments, but in the challenging ones too. You're my home, my best friend, my favorite person. I can't wait to spend forever with you. Evan's vows made me cry, and also made several people in the audience cry. Adrian, you've always been the one. Even when we were apart, even when I tried to move on, you were always the one. You're the person I measure every good thing against, the standard for what love should feel like.